Okay, so yeah, so let me just give you some briefing like what are the things so far covered. It has been 6 7 days we started the course. So there are few folks who joined recently, and a few of them joined yesterday like that. So I just wanted to give like what has been covered. So it's not like something we discuss about the tool. I mean, we discussed it, but again we'll be repeating that. So in the day zero, it was a demo session. So mostly about what is that backup means and what actually. So why we are learning the Commvault, and so in the marketplace where the Commvault is placed and how it is doing business and all that stuff we have discussed. And then we have seen on the day one. So I have shown you how you can create a virtual machine in the Azure cloud. The reason for selecting the Azure cloud is, the Azure cloud, if you if you go for a subscription for the first time, and it will give you around $200 of credit on your account. So that means it will be a trial version and a trial subscription, and then so you can use that $200 for up to 1 month for for deploying any services or any VMs like that. The reason, and the people who don't have any laptop or who don't have a good configuration 8 GB RAM, they can try deploying the virtual machines and setting up the environment right in the Azure cloud so that they can practice. So that's the reason why I selected the Azure cloud. And then in that first class we have seen how to create an virtual machine, and yeah, so that's mainly on the first class. And the second class again, so same thing like how to create a virtual machine, and and also we've seen how you can create a virtual machines for media agent for client. So as you know, so Commvault is an application, right? It's not an appliance, or it is not something related to an uh, it's not a server, it's an application. So this application can be installed on a virtual machine, or it can also be installed on a physical server. So nowadays, if you see most of the customers, they are using 90% of them are using the virtual machines only. So very few of them will use the physical servers, right? So if you learn, how you can, installation is process is same, whether it is in virtual machine or whether it is in physical server. So Commvault installation process will be same. So it doesn't change. So here in the demonstration, I have shown you like how to create a virtual machine. So this part usually you don't do it as a backup admin. It is not your responsibility. It is the responsibility of the server admin. So you will be approaching the server admin and you will be giving them a specification. Like for example, for media agent, you will tell them, okay, I need an 4 core CPU and 8 GB RAM, and I need an two hard disk. One OS disk should be so and so size, and some data disk should be so and so size. So with that specification, and also you'll define the operating system. So for media agent, you can use then Linux or Windows. So any one of them is fine. But for ComSer, so most of the customers will use Windows only. So Linux is also supported, but I've seen very few customers because that support came recently. So for ComSer, so it is strongly recommended to go for Windows operating system, and for media agent and clients, sorry, and media agent, you go for Windows or Linux operating system. Anything should be fine. So in that sessions we have shown I shown you like how you can create a VMs. So that is only for your learning. It's not for your real time. In the real time, unless or otherwise you're, all-in-one resource. Like for example, if you're managing both the servers and also if you are a backup storage, everything, if it is a small environment, very small company, in that case, you might have to be an all-rounder. You have to go for deploying the VMs, manage VMs, everything. But it will be for only small companies, right? Okay. Since we are in the backup tool, learning the backup tool, so we'll focus mainly on the backup product only. Okay. After that, we have seen, yeah, actually it is duplicated. I'll delete one of them. Yeah, and also we have seen like how you can install the like Commvault package, and then we have seen how you can install the media agent, and also in this demo sessions you have seen how you can install the Windows package, Linux client, and also we have seen how you can install the there are different methods of installation. So one is like remote installation, another is then local install. So in these demos we covered all these things. So these demos are already available in the playlist. If you miss it, don't worry. So what you have to do is you have to go to that YouTube channel where we have an learner intro, learner infra. Okay, I'm not sure how I can minimize this. Okay, in the learner infra page, if you go for a playlist, so you'll be finding something. Yeah, in the Commvault backup training, if you see, so there we have uploaded it already. You see that from the first class is demo, and second is about Commvault package download and Azure virtual machine, and then we have something with so try to follow the series. The third session is about creating the virtual machine for media agent client, and fourth is about VMware. I mean that you can ignore. Yeah, installing the ComSer and media agent, and six is about installing the Linux file system and Windows file system. Sorry, file system editor agents, right? So try to go through that, and seven and eight. So these are like yesterday's sessions. These are also added. So I think these are private. I don't think you'll be having access. So I will give the access to yesterday's class sessions also. And yeah, that's the thing so far covered. And so in today's session, so I just wanted to give some brief overview of a backup role because some of you might be in confusion. What is it? I mean, anyhow, we are learning the tools, but we should be all learning in a certain should have some proper plan, right? We are learning because we need to get a good job in the backup admin, good salary, or if you are already in the backup tool, then we are expecting a good salary, right? Or if you are working at a L1, L2 level, should go at an L3 level. So, so what is that? We should be knowing like what actually the backup admin will do first. So let's see the backup roles and responsibilities, backup admin roles and responsibilities. So once I covered this, then we'll go to the tool again. So we'll learn the tool training, right? So in yesterday's session, I have shown you like VMware workstation setup and installing, sorry, and also creating a virtual machine for, three machines. One is the ComSer, uh, like we have an, yeah. So like I've shown you like how to minimize it. Okay. So this part we have seen, but I did not show you how we can install the ComServe machine. The reason because that part is already covered in the previous sessions. If you did not, if you missed that class, then try to go through that because ComServe package installation is a little bit long process. So yesterday's class, because it will become repetitive if I again play that demo, right? So better you go through that, the playlist. You can find that. And also the media agent, we have seen how you can push the package for the media agent. Yesterday's class we covered. In today's session, we'll see how you can install, right, the Linux file system on the Linux client. So that we are going to see, right? And before we see that, I just wanted to give some brief overview, right? What is the backup admin roles and responsibilities? So let me start here. So usually, how the day-to-day operations, right? What will the daily task of an backup admin? So once he log in into the desk, so he has to go for the email checking, right? So he'll be doing the email checking. So whether there are any, emails from customer, right? So customer here, some people might also be calling their own client, customer, or end user, whatever it may be, okay? And then we have to respond. We have to reply or respond to that emails. And emails from, internal team. Internal teams means it could be your colleagues, your backup team colleagues, or it could be, so the team members from other, uh, you know, focus groups, like somebody may be from the storage, and there could be some emails from the Linux admin, so Linux team or Windows team, or it could be cloud team. So you have to you have to, because so the request might be coming from different teams. Like the request might be for configure a backup for a Linux server. So and Windows admin might send an email. Windows team guys will send you an email, configure a backup for a Windows file system, right? So those kind of emails you'll be getting, and then you have to respond to that. The next is review meeting. So you'll be having a review meeting with your internal backup team. So they might, so they, so this within the team you'll be having review meeting, like so you'll be discussing what are the day to day, on that day what actually you have to do, what are the things that need immediate attention, right? So for example, today there is an incident open, so incidents required an immediate attention, right? And for example, SRs, so SRs you can delay a little bit, and if there is SR is nothing but a service request, so I'll come to that later. And then there could be a change request, right? So this change request might be postponed. I mean, it might, you can take some time for implementing the change, but what are the immediate things that need a attention? So those things you'll be discussing in the backup team meeting. And this backup team meeting, you might be having the team lead, and also your manager might also be present, okay? So we'll be attending the daily review meeting about the status, about so what is that, like you can say something like about the action plan or pending actions, like that. Next, so you'll be monitoring the, like again, so for any, you'll be having, for example, if your company is an mid and above mid level, you'll be having some ticketing tools, right? So ServiceNow or HP tool, or if it is something and like product based company, there will be an Salesforce tool. So there will be some tool where you'll be getting some tickets, right? So ticketing tool you can call. So you'll be monitoring that ticketing tool, and you'll be finding some, if there are any incidents, right? If there are any SRs, SRs is nothing but service request, or if there are any change request. So these things you will go through that. So incidents, okay, let me tell you what in a one line answer. Incident is nothing but an something broken, right? Something broken means your backup failed. So you need to immediately, you have to go to that, you have to take an action for that. You have to resolve that backup failure, or the restore failed. So immediate action, you have to go to that, jump in and find out what is wrong and then resolve that restore failure issue. Or it could be your comms are down, or it could be your media agent down, or it could be some performance issue. All this comes under incidents, right? And what about service request? So service request is something that you're requesting, you know, something to the other team. Like for example, on a media agent, your media agent is in Windows operating system. So you will request your Windows operating system by creating an SR to add an additional drive. So you need an additional drive, right, for storage. So you raise an SR, right? SR is nothing but you are requesting service from the other team. So it is like requesting service with other teams. And your customer might also raise an SR. So your customer might raise an SR asking for, uh, to configure new backup. So it comes under SR. And your customer might ask you some request to, you know, to tell the status of, uh, you know, like something like he might ask you like to tell the status of retention. So for example, if he's not aware of a particular client retention, he might ask you, he don't have an access to the command center, your console, backup tool console, your customer will not have, right? He might ask you, he might create an SR asking for some retention details. So SR might be these types, right? Similarly, change request. So what is a change request? So most frequent change request you'll be doing is like patching. So patching activity or upgrade activity. So for Commvault, from a Commvault perspective, since you are in the backup tool, it is your responsibility to patch or upgrade your environment, right? So what kind of patching you'll do? So you are responsible as a backup admin. You're only responsible for patching or upgrade of COMSIL, whatever the components, right? Whatever the components of a COMSIL environment, you're only responsible for that. What are the components? Components is like COMSER, so your COMSER machine and media agent machine and virtual server agent. I haven't come to that. We'll come to that, right? We'll speak it about virtual server agent and Commvault packages and Commvault IDA on client machines. So your infra is only this. As a backup admin, you are responsible for only this, right? Patching and upgrade of this particular servers, ComServe server, media agent, virtual server agent, and IDA on the clients. So you have to plan the patching, like how frequently the patching will be. Patching will be most of the companies it will be monthly. So every month you'll get some security vulnerabilities. Then to resolve that vulnerabilities, some security team will send you one report. Okay, so you have to upgrade this version. It is vulnerable like that. So to remediate that, to fix that, you have to do the patching. So patching will be monthly, and half yearly or quarterly. It depends on company to company. So you can say monthly. And for that, for doing this activity, patching or upgrade, you have to schedule the downtime, right? You need to schedule the downtime. I mean, you have to plan usually in the weekends, downtime in the weekend. So in the so you'll raise the change request and provide the scheduled downtime or when the activity is going to be performed, and also you have to give the MOM or something called action plan. Some people will call it an action plan also. So what actually steps you are going to follow, and also rollback plan. If in case something doesn't work as expected, what is the rollback plan, right? So these things you have to mention. So what else? And apart from this, and what are the daily tasks of the backup admin is he has to go for somebody else is waiting. So Okay, let's continue. Configure new backups. So as I said, backup admin might get an SR for configuring new backups. What kind of backups you'll configure? It depends on the client, right? Or your customer. Your customer might, or so this request might also come internally also for internal servers. So file system, Windows file system backup. If you don't know what is Windows file system, if you're completely new to IT, very simple example. I have an, this is an Windows 10 operating system, and I want these videos to be backed up, right? So I feel that okay, these are very critical. I mean, for me, these videos are very important. I don't want it to take in risk. If in case my laptop got dead, it crashed, so all the data will get wiped. So I don't want to lose this data. So what I will do? So I will tell the backup admin, hey, backup admin, please take a backup of this folder. I have the critical files. I have a very important video files. So what your backup admin will do? Your backup admin will install an iData agent. He will install an agent in this machine, and then he will define in that particular the backup tool this location. So and then he will take whatever the files are there in this location. He'll take a backup, right? So this is called file system backup because I'm giving the folder location and backing up all the files. Even video is also a file, right? A folder is also comes under a type of file. So everything under this particular folder will be backed up. So this is called file system backup, right? So you can have a file system backup, Linux file system backup, and for this you have to install an iData agent. As I said, like you have to install an agent, Commvault agent, and likewise you have an DB backups. DB is nothing but a database. Like database are different types, like Oracle, SQL Server, or it could be like PostgreSQL, MySQL. There are different types, but in our in this particular training, we'll be covering these two, and also these two also, because once you know these two, these are very these are the major players. These are big databases. So Postgre, MySQL, they are they are not that. Uh, they are these are others are easy once you, if you know these two. So in our content will be training delivering these two, and apart from that, virtual server, virtual server backups. So your customer might be having VMware, right, or Hyper-V. So if those who are very new to IT, if you don't know what is an VMware Hyper-V means, so simply remember, so VMware is nothing but on one physical server, you will be having multiple, you will be creating multiple virtual machines, right? So, so something in the layman terms, you can say on one physical server, you can have you can create a multiple virtual machines, and you can install in different operating systems, right? And you can run an applications on this virtual machine. So, this kind of technology is supported by different vendors like VMware. You have an application name is also VMware. Hyper-V is an Microsoft product. So Hyper-V is also one kind of virtualization. As a backup admin, you don't have to know these things. You don't have to know the, like administration part, because again you have a different team for who will be administrating these technologies. As a backup admin, what you need? You need to know the high level, working. High level working means, for example, if you see VMware, right? You should know some terminology like vCenter and what is an ESX, and you should know what is an virtual machine means, right? And so these things, and how the virtual machines are placed, and how the ESX, if they are having multiple ESX, so if they are in the cluster, so this setup, at least an architecture part, you should be having some knowledge. Similarly, Hyper-V. So our Hyper-V also, we have an Hyper-V nodes which are grouped in a cluster. So on these nodes, we'll be having an like virtual machines running. So architecture part you should be knowing because you have to configure, right? You have to configure a backup of virtual servers in the Commvault. So usually this is called as an agentless backup. We call it as an agentless. The reason is that you are backing up the virtual machines. You are backing up the virtual machines. So inside the virtual machine, you don't install any agent. So that is the reason why we call it as an agentless. So we call the virtual server backups as an agentless. Then you may get a doubt if there is no agent in the virtual machines, then how come the Commvault will know that? How can the Commvault will, get an backup of the virtual machine? How it can communicate? So it can communicate via the Hyper-V node, right? So that means on this Hyper-V node, we'll install an agent. So that agent is called VSA, Virtual Server Agent. So we're going to install the virtual server agent on the Hyper-V node. But if you see the VMware works a little different. Here also it is agentless. On the VM, we are not installing any agent. Neither we installed any agent on EA6. We are not installing any agent on EA6. We don't even install any agent on the vCenter. Then you may get it out where we install the agent to take a backup of VMware. So we have an some, we'll going to uh, so create a separate virtual machine or a physical server. So there you are going to install VSA. Okay. So now this virtual machine, there are some prerequisites, right? This virtual machine should be able to connect to the ESX, right? It should have an connectivity to the ESX so that it can take a backup. And one more thing is that your ComServe should also be provided with the vCenter credentials. So there are some prerequisites. We'll check in detail. For now, simply remember that virtual servers are agentless. It will be too early to speak about all these things. So right now the expectation is only that you have to remember, okay, virtual servers are agentless. We are not going to install any agent in the virtual machine, even for Hyper-V and vCenter, VMware. But for instead, you'll be having an, in Hyper-V, on the Hyper-V node itself, we install the VSA. But for VMware, you need to deploy a separate virtual machine or a physical server. So that has an connectivity to ESX, right? Should have an connectivity with the ESX. Okay. So what else? So there are some customers who are working on the cloud environment, right? And and some are in the hybrid. So if you are working in like something, in your project is mostly cloud based, so all the process will remain same, right? For a backup perspective, you don't have to fear, okay? You don't have to fear that, okay, because my environment is cloud, so does the tool operation will differ? No, it won't differ. All the operations will remain same. Even it is cloud or on-premise or whether it is in hybrid will remain, everything will remain same. You're learning the tool, so the same process you apply in the cloud also. Okay, yeah. So again, next. So what are the other backup active, what are the other things backup admin responsible for? Backup admin is responsible for user administration, right? We covered patching and next is user administration. For example, you know, who should be given the access to the console, right? You have the two consoles. As I said, like as a backup admin, you'll be working mostly on the COMSEL console. A few people will call it as in Java console, right? So all your, if you are a, Commvault admin, your 90% of the time, you'll be spending on these two consoles. Java console or Comsil console. Another we call it as a command center. So this is your play area, right? As a backup admin, you should be having very good knowledge, or you should be having a good hands-on, I would say, not a knowledge, good hands-on on these two tools. So Java console, command center. So yeah, and yeah. So for these consoles, right, who should be given what level of access, right? So some people will call it as a roles, right? For example, there is a new in your backup team, a fresher has joined. So for a fresher, you cannot give an admin level access, right? Because he might be learning, right? He is in the learning stage. So if you give an admin level access, if he does something wrong, then as a senior admin or as an the team lead, they are answerable. So that's why you have to create some roles, and then you have to give the that roles to that particular user. So we call that as an user administration. So we'll see that in details later. Okay, this is one of the backup admin task. Another thing, security administration. So what is a security administration? So there will be an internal audits or customer level audits. So they will be asking whether you have enabled an encryption for the backups, whether ransomware protection is available. Okay, so whether there is an warm feature enabled, so whether there is an so these things will be mostly asked in the audit. So you have to ensure that your environment has all these features enabled: encryption, ransomware protection, warm feature. We'll see all these things in our training. Okay, next. So what else? As a backup admin, what are the other things that you're going to be checking? So okay, so I believe most of the things has been covered as a backup for backup admin. Anything we miss, Suresh? I mean, as per your experience, if you're doing any other than this, any other activity. Okay, so no problem. Yeah, all these things will be covered in our training, and I would say there are something like the storage administration also. I would say the storage administration, don't get confused. So you'll not be managing the storage, but for Commvault there will be something called the disk library. Yeah, am I audible to all of you? Can somebody unmute and confirm? Okay, yeah, thank you. Can go on. Can go on. Okay, so yeah, that's fine. Thank you for confirmation. Okay, so another thing is like, you know, so storage administration is something related to, library management. So usually in most of the companies there is separate team for storage. But if you consider a small team, like small teams or small projects or small company, I can say, so there will be an storage and backup will be managed by one team only. So, but if you are having knowledge on storage, that is very good. If your profile is having both storage and backup administration, then it is something like you're hot in the market, right? But if you don't know storage, but if you know only backup, then it is also fine, right? Because most of the companies, if you, there will be some separate team for storage and also backup. So from backup perspective, I'm speaking now. So your environment might have the disk libraries. Your environment might have a cloud library and tape library. If it is a big customer, all the three will be there. If it is a small customer, only disk library, or if it is something cloud related customer, only cloud libraries. And if it is completely, like your customer is mostly highly secure, they like for example the government customers, right? So government clients or secure sites, they prefer tape libraries. because they don't want to expose the data to, outside. So the tape library. So you should be knowing these three things. You should be knowing how to configure, how to manage, how to fix the issues related to these things. So this part will also be covered. We'll cover mostly about this tape library. I will I will not go into the depth of that, but I'll show you how you can configure it because it's not something we can try with a virtual tape library. So this course will cover that. Next. So apart from that, the networking. So networking also a very important thing. So I mean, as a backup admin, you may get it out why you need a networking knowledge. So networking is something related to application level knowledge you need. So, application level knowledge means like ports. So what are the backup, I mean, backup, what are the ports needed for an backup application? And also, there's something like tunneling, how to configure the tunneling and how to, work on the performance issues, the network slowness. And also you should be knowing how to, limit the bandwidth utilization. So these things will also be covered. Okay. And apart from that, so what else? So these are the major, mostly your, if as a backup admin, you'll be working on these things, right? Your 90% of the time spent in the company will be around this. Whether it be on L2 or L3, it doesn't matter. So these are the things that you should be mostly doing. So there might be few other tasks which will be doing, which I misread, but I will add it. Don't worry, I will be adding it, in the near classes. So I'll save it and share it to you. Okay, so okay, from this training, what you can expect, I mean, it has been like 6 days completed, and as I said, like it's totally 30 days of training. So now only we entered the tool training, actual tool training. So in this, we'll be expecting like the real time, like knowledge and with the demos. And the next is like, so I'll share you the slides also. In whatever the deck I am using, I'll share you those things. And also I'll share you like the terminology. Few people might not be, they might be following the class, but you might not be able to remember. For example, if I say storage pool or if I say plan storage policy, you might at the time of session you might be able to understand, but after the session you will forget it, right? So for that I'm going to give the all these the terminology one line definitions because this is very needed for an the new who are very new to the Commvault product. So what is the plan? What is the storage policy, right? So what is the storage pool? So what actually client means? What is agentless means? So that terminology, one-line definitions. And apart from that, I'll also share you some PDF file. So which has an so with that PDF file, if you follow, you can clear Commvault Professional Services exam. So this exam is open book. So it's very easy. Open book means like you can use the internet at the time of exam. So if you follow that PDF file, you can clear it. So this will be your takeaway once you complete the this particular training program. So yeah, let's go to that again. The actual lab setup which we have deployed yesterday. So we have deployed ComSer Media Agent and Linux Client 1 and Client 2. So if you haven't, I will share you that recording access. So this is already available on the internet, but I think I have to share it one to one because those are in private videos. Okay. Okay. So once you deploy your lab environment, what I would say is that you try to connect from your computer, RTP. For example, I have an console for this machine, ComServe machine, right? What you have to do is that, sorry, open the command prompt, just a second. Okay, run the IP config. That will be the IP address of that machine. Okay, so what I would request is from your uh, laptop machine, use the remote desktop and connect to it. So it will be easy for you to, use your mouse or navigate from here and there. So instead of working directly from the console, you can RDP to that. So that IP is already selected. Okay, so you can see that this way it will be easy for you to copy paste anything, or you can copy any files from here and there. It will be easy. Okay, now I'm connected to the RDP of the COMSER, right? So I already have installed the COMVAult. If you missed that, if you don't know how to install the COMVAult COMSER package, then so there is one video so which I shared. I will provide you that access for that particular video. Okay, you can go through that. So after I install it, you can see here. So if I go to the start menu, COMVAult, these three applications will be there. You'll see that. The first one is COMVAult Process Manager. You have to first check that. Okay, so once you open that, you see table forward, equity table, okay, so just asking for warning, system state is correct. Okay, so this is the host name. Yeah, because I use the IP address while configuring. But in your company, if you have a DNS, domain name service, you can also see the host name here, right, in place of the host name. For example, some in general the host names, user-friendly names. Companies will go with the user-friendly names. So they will give something, like for example, if your ComSer is hosted in production environment, so it will be something like prod ComSer, or you'll be seeing some user-friendly names. But here in my lab environment, I use the IP address. So that's why I'm saying it. Okay. So client name. So you can use any name. This cannot be also modified. User, so client name with the ComSer. Instance name, you see. So we'll come to that instance in all the details. You see that. So ComSer name, right? So why you are seeing the same IP address? The reason is that your ComSer also has it's also acting as a client, right? Your ComSer itself can also act as a client. So it will assume both the roles, right? Not only that, this ComSer will also act as a media agent because we have installed all the packages. We have installed the client package, we have installed the media agent package, everything. So that's why we are seeing the same name here. Next, you can see the version here. This is the version which I installed. Okay, you can see the configuration here. This machine is a ComServe with a media agent package installed. This is what it says. Next, installation path and drive space. Drive space is nothing but your wherever this particular ComServe is installed, that particular drive space it's saying. In free space, job results, so index cache. This will speak to that about later. Okay, this part is important. Database size, it is showing for ComServe DB. So you need to remember that. So for storing the ComServe database, so we are using SQL Management Studio. So I will show that later. So how you can open and see that SQL Management Studio. For now, remember that for ComServe database, we are using an SQL Server. Next, plugins, you can ignore this, it's not that much interest. But see the services, this tab is important. So there might be an interview question. So what kind of services will run on the ComServe machine? So at a high level, you have a base service, ComServe services, media agent service, messaging queue, workflow, web console, and replication service, right? So within the ComServe service, these are all the services that should be running. Everything should show green, right? And logging. So these are the different log files. that you can directly open from here. Like for example, if you want to see the job manager log, we can scroll down, look for J. Yeah, job manager over here, right click and open log. That will open the log in the GXTail application. Even we'll see this GXTail, what actually, how you to read these log files. That part will also be covered in detail, right? For now, what we're doing, for now, we are only going through the walkthrough of the different applications on the COMSIR. That is what we are intending now. Troubleshooting. So we can enable the error reporting and also diagnostics, dumps, everything. So this part is very important. If you are performing any activity, what you have to do, you have to click on that, select all services, and you have to stop it. Activity means, for example, if you are going for a reboot of the COMSIR, there is some security patch need to be installed. Stop the services and then go for reboot, right? Or for example, if you are upgrading the COMSIR, or installing the COMVault patch, stop the services and try to install that. So this part is important. So always you have to gracefully stop the services. So this red icon will stop it. I'll show you at the end of this session because I have to go through the other windows also, right? So in the COMVault we have another applications. So what is that? As I said, console, COMVault COMSIL console or Java console. Why it is called a Java console? The reason is that this application is built on using the Java. You can see that OpenJDK. So this is an JDK application, right? So people will call it as a Java console or COMSIL console. So you have to enter the credentials that you created at the time of installing the COMSIL machine. Okay. So at the time of installing the COMSIL package, whatever the credentials you created, that you have to enter here. If you have a good resources, try to give like 4 cores and around 8 GB RAM because this is very IO intensive. So if you give only 2 GB RAM or 2 core CPU, it might slow down. So on your laptop, if you're having a good resources like around 16 GB RAM, try to give good RAM for this particular virtual machine. So Ashwin, if you don't know how to do it, right click properties, sorry, settings, and then if you go over here, you have memory, right? I have given 15 GB. So you can reduce or increase here. In processors, I given 4. So likewise, on your virtual machine also, we can increase or decrease. So because the first time I am logging in, it's taking some time. In the meantime, let me go to that other one, which is an COMVault command center. As I said, so the backup admin will be working 90% of the time on the command center and also the Java console or COMSIL console. Okay, so what else we can show you? Yeah, that's what I'm speaking about, like an SQL server. So SQL server is installed as a part of COMSIR package. When you install a COMSIR package, so SQL server is also installed. You can see that Management Studio and an SQL server engine. So these will be installed. So you don't have to manage as a backup admin. You will not be touching anything. So you don't have to be an SQL server administrator because this will be running in the background. As a backup admin, you will not be touching these things unless or otherwise Commvault technical support asks you to change anything. first time it will take some time. Meantime, let's go to the yeah. So this is architecture where we have an COM as a one tier. So it is a master or it is an admin server. So where it coordinates everything. Okay. And media agent is called as a data mover. So data mover is something, whatever the data, the backup data it receives from the client machines, it's going to write on the storage. As I said, like storage can be three types. The tape library. So this icon indicates a tape, and this icon indicates a cloud library, or disk library. Can be any one of the three or all the three. Some customers might use all the three. And a client is something, you know, whose data need to be backed up. So your client can be a simple Windows file system client, or Oracle DB might be running, or it could be an Hyper-V machine. So it depends on application. So whichever the server where the data has to be backed up, we call it as an client machine. So there, Commvault will install the agent for taking the backup. So there might be another one which is called an agentless. So agentless is something. So without installing the agent, we'll take a backup. And in the next class, we'll see the logical architecture. So we'll see, what is an backup set and what is the plan, storage policy, subclient, and we'll also see how to install the agent on Linux client. So those things we'll cover. The secondary copies for now we don't cover. But I'll tell you theory. Secondary copies it will be covered in the after 2 weeks, mostly in the last week of the training. So yeah, I think 1 hour has been completed. So we'll stop and I'll try to take the sessions in the weekend also, but I will take an individual opinion from you. If you are available in the weekend, then we'll, because the reason is that, so we'll try to complete it as early as possible. I'm planning to complete before, by the end of the February month. So I'll try to give as much information as possible so that, it will be easy for your interviews, or even if you're working, it will be easy for your the day-to-day task. Let's see if this is started. Okay, so let me do one thing. Let me stop this one, and I'll try to show you how we can stop and start the services. So you have to select all services and stop. So you don't have to individually select all these one after the other. Just if you do that, then Commvault will stop the services gracefully, right? In the order, it's going to start in a particular order, right? So when you stop it, then console will get disconnected. So everything should go red. Then it means that it is completely your all the services are down. So when all the services are down, you cannot connect to command center or your COMSIL console. See that it's giving an error, unable to connect, right? Because services are down. So what actually it means is that it's taking some time. So we have to wait patiently to go it down. So, but if you want to forcefully kill it, you can also do that, but it's not advisable. You don't have to. You have to wait patiently until all goes down gracefully. Okay, everything went down. Starting the service, simply click on the green icon. What actually this means is the last one, this icon means restart. So always it is good practice if you wanted to, even somebody like from the Commvault technical support ask you to bounce the services. So always do it. First stop the services and then start it. So then you can also use the restart, but it's also advisable to go for stop, and then start. Keep all services and start. So it will bring the services in a particular order. Okay, everything went green. Now you can try to connect. Start Commvault and open the console console. Similarly, open the command center. Noor, you want to speak anything? Do you have any question? Okay, yeah, can you go on mute? Okay, this is how the COMSIL console will look like. Okay, so tomorrow I will walk through what are the all the different windows available, like COMSIL browser, and what is this called work area, right? And what are the menus available? All these things I will walk through. And the command center, it seems to be having some issues. I'll take a look. Uh, the workaround is you can try with IAS reset. IAS reset. It is like like stopping and starting the internet information services. Process. Let's wait for that to start. Okay, now try to open the command center. Okay, then I think for the first time it is running. It's taking some time. Tomorrow we'll see that the different console controls available, and then we okay, it got some issues. I will fix this, and then tomorrow we'll see that, and we'll see how you can install the file system agent on the Linux client, and then we'll see uh, the logical architecture. So how to create an one disk library, how to create an storage policy and how to create a backup set, sorry, how to install an agent, backup set, and subclient. This part will be covered. Yeah. So we can stop for now. So do you have any to stop the recording?